Hi, everybody. I'm Anthony Ruggiano, and I have a few announcements to make. Life has been good since I recovered from cocaine addiction. I'm happy to say it's been coming up on 34 years that I'm clean. I also created an Anthony Ruggiano Jr. Recovery Helpline, and I'm going to give you that number right now. If you need help or you know someone that needs help, please call me. The number is 855 963 2113. I'm going to repeat that. It's 855-963-2113. So if someone you know or yourself needs help, please don't hesitate to call me. And in spite of giving back to society, I've been named an ambassador to Face the Music. Face the Music Foundation is a foundation that helps people that can't afford drug treatment and alcohol treatment. They provide scholarships for people to go into treatment. They actually pay for the treatment because not everybody has insurance. So unfortunately, there's some people out there suffering from addiction that can't afford to go to treatment. And so this foundation supplies the money for treatment, which is schooling and drug prevention and recovery. And treatment is very important because in my own personal story, if it wasn't for the treatment center I was lucky enough to go to, I would probably be dead right now because that treatment center gave me the tools to recover. So this foundation affords people those tools to change their life. Neil just had died of stomach cancer. So I was at his funeral, and you could feel like there was like some kind of vibe in the air. Paul, and the people were talking about Paul, that he wasn't coming, that he didn't come, he didn't show up yet, and he wasn't, and they didn't think he was coming. And then John walked in, and when John walked in, you could see like everybody jumped up, and like, you know, he was getting treated like a little differently already, even though Paul was still alive. But you could see, you just knew something was up. And everybody knew, like, the underlying factor was that everybody knew that Paul wanted the tapes by then. And everybody knew like what was going to go on, you know what I mean? Like what was happening. And, you know, you just knew now that Neil was dead, something was going to jump off. I mean, basically everybody knew that, you know, and, you know, and his son, Buddy, was in jail. I was concerned about Buddy because he was a really good friend of mine. Me and him were really tight, and he was in jail. He was in MCC because he was on a case with them. And, you know, he ran away after that. You know, when his father died, he bailed himself out because he was going to stay in. They told him to stay in because he was going to take a plea or go to trial. And he was always nervous of John, Buddy. He always felt John was, you know, he used to tell me all the time, I know this guy's going to kill me when my father dies. And I thought, what are you, crazy? Why would he do that? He just was paranoid over John, Buddy. And it was the truth, you know, because what happened was when his father died, he bailed himself out. And from what I understand is he went to the father's house and took all his father's jewelry, because his father, you know, he knew he wasn't going to get any of the money. And he took all his father's jewelry because his father had millions. I mean, and he took all the father's jewelry, which was, I heard, like over $1 million worth of jewelry, and he ran away with the jewelry. He ran away, and he was never seen from again. And then years later, he died. He died. You know, he died young. He died when he was, and he died young and from, you know, alcohol poisoning, and you know, he drank himself to death. You know, he was an addict. You know, and he died, and he died. He bled out in some house in Pennsylvania. I think his cousin Sal, I was friends with too. He used to go visit him all the time. I knew Sal was probably the only one that knew where he was. But I never saw him again after that, after his father passed away. Angelo Quack was the captain in the Gambino family. He was John Gotti's partner. And it was the tapes from his heroin case with Jeannie Gotti. And they were important because you weren't supposed to sell drugs, and they were selling drugs, and Paul wanted to hear the tapes because he wanted to basically get rid of all of them because they were his biggest threat, his biggest rivalries. Oh, he was a dangerous guy. He was a killer. You know, my father loved him. My father and him were very tight. He used to tell my father everything. Who killed, you know, he told my father everything. Like the conversations he had with my father, he told my father everything. He was like my father's main source of information. You know, he was close, tight with my old man. He was very tight with Tony Lee, very close with Tony Lee. He was, you know, I had a couple of things with him. I had a couple of little run-ins with him along the way, you know, but yeah, he was a gangster. So it was a tradition in Ozone Park, that Aqueduct Racetrack back in the day when the racetrack was the race, like before the cable and all that bullshit, you know, like back in the day, on a Saturday, there was 20, 30,000 people at Aqueduct, you know what I mean? Like on Mondays, every barber and every butcher was in Aqueduct Race. They used to call it the BB Day because all the butchers and barber shops were closed and all the track was packed on a Monday. You know, so on Thanksgiving Day, the racetrack Aqueduct used to open up 9:30 in the morning. And everybody was there. Like you went to the racetrack and the whole neighborhood was at the racetrack 9:30 in the morning, betting horses and betting the football games and a lot of action. Everybody bet. People that didn't bet all year bet on Thanksgiving because everything was early. You know, the racetrack opened at 9:30. The first game was at 12:30. You know, it was only 2 games on back then. There was no night games yet. So it was like the Lions always played and Dallas always played, you know, and everybody bet. I mean, the whole country bet. I mean, there was only 2 games in horse racing. So everybody bet. Bookmakers made a ton of money. You know, so we would go to the racetrack in the morning at 9:30. We would go to the racetrack every Thanksgiving in the morning. And then I would leave the track and then I would go meet my father and we would go to the Ravenite. On Thanksgiving Day, we would go to the Ravenite and or the day before maybe and there'd be a little spread there and then we'd go home and have dinner and, you know, with our families. I mean, they celebrated Thanksgiving. They weren't very patriotic, but they celebrated Thanksgiving. I think it was more, it wasn't like celebrated like to be patriotic. It was just more celebrated like to be with thankful for your family, to be with your family. It wasn't, you know, because we were Americans or anything like that, because my father hated the government. It all depends. The state, in New York State, the Thanksgiving in prison sucked because they gave you fake turkey, like it sucked. They gave you like one little shitty piece of fake turkey and it was terrible, terrible. And, you know, they didn't do anything, but the feds, because it's the federal government, they had a big to do. So the feds, they cooked real turkeys and you would go to the mess hall, we all went, and they would give you a tray and, you know, you'd have your stuffing and your sweet potatoes with marshmallows and all that and your pie. And then you would have a piece of tinfoil, a big thing of tinfoil, and you would open it up and there'd be all turkey meat fresh off the bone in the tinfoil. And, you know, it was really good. It was, I mean, for prison. And then they had, in the yard, they had like, you know, like handball tournaments and pinochle tournaments. And they had a prison band, like a group playing music. And, you know, everybody was out there. It was pretty festive for jail. We took pictures. They had a guy in the yard taking pictures. I have a lot of pictures in the yard. Anytime you see a picture in the yard like that, so they had, you know, we would buy picture tickets and get our picture taken in the yard all together. Christmas, they put up Christmas decorations. I actually have pictures, jailhouse pictures from the feds of us standing around our Christmas tree that was in our block. We had a Christmas tree, and I actually have pictures of us around the Christmas tree. Yeah, but yeah, the how, you know, they try to make it all the holidays in the federal prison, like Cinco de Mayo, they make special meals and they have a party out in the yard. Christmas, they have a party. Thanksgiving, New Year's Day, you know, they try to, because the holidays in prison are very long because everything shuts down. Like there's no movement, there's no programs, the programs stop. A lot of the employees go on vacation, so the jobs stop, and it's kind of, the time slows down around Christmas, this time of year in prison, like between Thanksgiving and New Year's, time really slows down in there because everything sort of inside the facility, everything shuts down, because in jail, the days go by fast because, you know, you do stuff like you have, like in the morning, you work out, you do your little job, you know, like you have the day, every day is the same. So it just rolls by, like the days go by fast, but the years go by slow. I don't know if if you weren't in jail, you probably won't understand what I'm saying, but that's how it is. The days go by fast and the years go by slow, but on the holidays, everything slows down, shuts down because there's no movement. So all that's open is the gym, the yard, you know, there's no movement because a lot of people go on vacation and it just slows down. Phone, a lot of people relapse on the holidays, go to meetings, you know, use the tools that are available, you know, make meetings, call people. If you feel like drinking or drugging, you know, make a phone call, go to a meeting, you know, try to, you know, talk yourself out of it. You know what I mean? You know, just hold on. I mean, you don't stay alone. Don't do it alone. Don't go around, try not to go around people that are using or drinking. I know that's hard because it's a family holiday, but you know, in early recovery, you got to put your recovery first. And if it means like if your whole family uses, you know, don't go there or go there with another sober person. You know, don't go alone. Always and have an escape route. You know what I mean? Go with a car. Make sure you can leave. You're not dependent on somebody to get you out of there. Make sure you have money to call an Uber to get out of there. And when you know, if you feel the pressure or the urges, just get out of there. You know, but always try not to be alone and sit with it. What's the reason why Sammy killed his brother-in-law? I don't know. The reason why what we heard in the street, what the rumor in the street was, which I'm not saying it's true or not, and if it is true, it's not really, it doesn't, you know, I'm not homophobic or nothing, but the rumor in the street was that he killed his brother-in-law because his brother-in-law caught him in a gay club. So, you know, who knows the truth? You know, I mean, that don't make him a bad guy if he was gay or bisexual or anything, but, you know, in them, you know, in the mind of a wise guy, like that's taboo. You know, being a homosexual is taboo. You know what I mean? So, you know, who knows the truth? And that's all of these guys, on social media, all of them. Who heard of these people? He was with Spiro. Yeah, I knew Spiro. Spiro was a gangster. He was friends with my father. He was the underboss of the Banana family. Yeah, that was his guy. Yeah, he was probably with Spiro, but they never left their neighborhood, these kids. Who knew them? We were all over town. Everybody knew us. So now if they want to start talking shit, then we could talk shit. You know, let's talk shit. Let's all meet. Let's all have one like big round table. I have a friend of mine that's still in the neighborhood. He's a knockaround kid. He's a waiter. He was a waiter, you know, but he knew everybody. He used to bang out credit cards. You know, I used to sell him credit cards. And he worked in Alphonse's club, who was Ronnie One-Arm's son, who was a captain in the Gambino family. And all these kids, Rockeforth and they were all straightened out. All these kids were straightened out. And they had a card game in the club, and he worked the card game, or he was in there gambling one night or whatever. And he used to come to the Ritz with me, this kid, back in the day, and he knew who we used to hang out with at the Ritz. And he's in there one night after I cooperated and everything, and he's in there one night, and so they don't know he still talks to us or talks to my brother. They didn't know that, of course. So they're in there and they're playing cards, and they're all sitting in there and they're all dressed up. And they start talking bad about me and my brother. And he's sitting there playing cards with them, like he's my age. He's not, he's older than them. And he's sitting there and he's at the cart and he's in there and they're talking bad about me and my brother. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore. And he says to them, "What are you talking about? Yous never left the neighborhood. Yous don't even know what to do with this thing." He said, "Them two guys, they hung out with the biggest stars in the world. They went everywhere with that thing. They knew how to use that thing. They lived. Yous don't even leave Ozone Park. You don't even know what to do. Yous all got buttons. You don't even know what to do with them." He said, "Them two guys, they went to the best clubs in Manhattan. They hung out with the biggest stars in the world. They knew what to do with that thing. Yous kids don't even know what to do with it." Thanks for tuning in to Reform Gangsters, and I hope to see you soon.